Michelle, my plane leaves in 30 minutes.
I've got to talk to you first.
We went all over it this afternoon.
Just give me 5 minutes.
It's no use, Michelle. I'm going through with it. I thought I made that pretty clear.
I met with the party after I left you.
Oh,
They asked me to see you again.
Michelle, it won't do any good. What's the use? I told... all right.
You've got to call off the hearings.
It's too late now, even if I wanted to. You saw the spread it got in the papers?
You can dream up an excuse. You're an expert at it. A postponement, illness, anything.
Save your breath.
You realize what'll happen if you get yourself out on a limb.
I've been out there before. Way out.
This time the committee won't go along with you.
I run the committee. It doesn't run me.
Do you run the party too? One more error and they'll let you have it.
You're a smart politician, but you've guessed wrong before.
I'm not guessing. I'm warning you. I'm speaking for the party now. You're going too far.
I've heard that before.
This time, it isn't that some crackpot college pinko or some lousy department assistant. This man is too big.
No one is too big. There's no one so high or so low as to make him immune to investigation, where there is the slightest trace of evidence that his actions or beliefs are detrimental to the interests of this country.
That kind of talk is...
I'm not just talking, Michelle. I'm going ahead with this. You can't stop me. The committee can't stop me. The party can't stop me. Nothing can stop me. Oh, stewardess.
I'll be with you in a minute, sir. Fasten your safety belts. Fasten your safety belts, please.
Your attention, please. This is the chief pilot speaking. We have developed some trouble in one of our starboard motors, but there is no cause for alarm. I repeat, there is no cause for alarm. However, we are bucking severe headwinds and having difficulty maintaining altitude. I have decided to turn back rather than continue with one motor not functioning. We regret the delay, but arrangements are being made for you to board another plane upon landing. Thank you.
Oh, miss,
Yes, sir.
how long will it take us to get back?
About 4 hours, sir.
That means we'll be delayed almost 8. I must send a wire.
You'll have time to do that at the terminal, sir.
That'll be too late. I'll write out my message and you ask the pilot to radio it back to the terminal and ask them to send it.
I'm afraid that's impossible.
You ask the pilot.
I'm sorry, sir. It's against all regulations. No personal messages.
You know who I am.
Yes, sir. But no exceptions can be made.
What's your name?
Hi, Miss Davidson.
Miss Davidson. This message concerns an investigation I am conducting. It is of the utmost urgency.
I don't doubt that, sir, but...
You acknowledge the importance of my message, and yet you refuse to convey my request to the pilot.
It won't do any good, sir.
You realize that only one interpretation can be put upon your refusal, Miss Davidson.
I am very sorry, sir, but...
It seems to me that you are deliberately obstructing an official investigation that is vital concern to every loyal citizen of this country.
No, sir, but the regulations...
Miss Davidson, I'm aware that you won't be the first individual who has hidden behind so-called regulations and used them as a device to further interests directly opposed to the majority of the loyal citizens of our country. Your uncooperative attitude can only cast the gravest doubts on your own loyalty, Miss Davidson.
I'm only doing my job. I'll speak to the pilot if you wish, but...
On fire!
Good day, sir. My name is Martin, Inspector Martin of the Immigration Service.
Immigration? I don't understand. Where am I?
It's quite all right. You're safe now. Will you follow me, sir?
Where are we? I don't seem to remember.
You'll be all right in a moment. You've had a nasty shock.
The plane! Did we crash?
Yes, you crashed.
Oh, I'm alive. I've got to send a wire.
There's no need for that now, sir.
This is very important. Where's a phone I can use?
There's no phone, sir.
There must be a phone around here somewhere. What is this dump anyway? I can't see anything. It's so foggy.
The fog will soon lift.
Where are the other passengers? How many survivors were there?
There were no survivors, sir.
You mean I'm the only one?
There were no survivors.
What are you talking about? Are you crazy? I'm here. I'm alive, aren't I? Now, come on. I want a straight answer, no double talk. You know who I am?
Yes, sir, I know all about you.
Well, let's have it then.
It would be a lot easier for you if you figure it out for yourself.
What's your name?
Inspector Martin of the Immigration Service.
All right, Martin. You say you know all about me. Then you must be aware of the importance of the work I'm engaged in. In view of this, your refusal to cooperate fully can only cast grave doubts on your motives. I can assure you this incident will be investigated thoroughly. Now you'll make things a lot easier on yourself if you answer my questions in a straightforward manner. Any attempt at evasion on your part can only lead me to infer that you have something to conceal. Now then, I've been in a plane crash. I ask you where I am, how I got here, where the other passengers are. And you tell me there were no survivors. And you... Oh, I see.
Yes, and the fog has lifted.
But I had so much to do yet. Why me? Why all my plans?
I know how you feel, sir. Everybody feels that way at first, but you'll snap out of it. After all, you're one of the lucky ones. You're up here. Of course, you've only got a temporary visa, but I'm sure you won't have any trouble getting a permanent visa at the main gate.
The main gate?
Yes, just follow me, sir. I'm taking you to the head gatekeeper.
Well, it's about time, Martin.
Sorry I'm late, sir. I was delayed at the border.
You're always delayed at the border, Martin. Why don't you tell these immigrants where they are right off, instead of beating around the bush? I don't see any point to it.
I found it's better to break it to them gently. Regulations don't forbid it, and...
I know all about regulations. I've been gatekeeper for a long time. It's gross inefficiency. You young fellows think just because you've got civil service jobs, you can get away with anything. When I started in the immigration service, we had to keep on our toes, believe me. I don't know why I stay on this job. No efficiency, no cooperation. I ought to hand in my resignation, but I won't. I won't give some people the satisfaction.
Sir, I have an applicant here.
Oh, yes.
Here's the file, sir.
Applicant for permanent entry, 578293B021. Where is he? Oh, there you are. Welcome.
My name is...
Yes, I know who you are. It's all down here in the record. Now, if you'll just sign this.
What is this document?
A standard form, application for permanent entry. Sign right here.
There you are.
Fine. Martin will show you to your quarters.
Right this way, sir.
Just a minute. Why are we going this way? Isn't that the main gate over there?
Oh, you can't go through that yet.
Why not? I signed that document.
But that's just an application. Before you can go through the main gate, we've got to investigate you.
Investigate me?
You'll be investigated thoroughly by the Permanent Investigating Committee on Permanent Entry. I am the chairman.
And what happens if I do not get a clean bill of health from this committee of yours?
In that case, it means deportation.
Deportation? To where?
Why, down there.
I want to state at this time that I refuse to submit to any investigation by any committee whose members, for all I know, may be completely unqualified to pass judgment on me.
My good sir, are you questioning the integrity of my committee?
I make no allegations. I am merely making a statement on policy.
But you've got to be investigated.
I raise no objections to an investigation. In fact, I welcome an investigation. My record is clean. I am perfectly willing to subject that record to the scrutiny of any competent body. Before I do so, however, I must be satisfied as to the competence of that body. If you will submit to me a list of names of persons eligible to sit on this tribunal, together with a list of alternate nominees, I will inform you of my approval or disapproval in each individual case, and we can then determine the composition of the committee.
My dear sir, you can't select the committee that is going to investigate you. That's unheard of up here.
Well, it's not unheard of where I come from.
You're a newcomer. You can't just barge in here and expect to change things overnight.
I am aware of that, sir. I assure you that I have no wish to disrupt the work of your committee. I am merely making this request in order to provide a safeguard which will guarantee fair play and justice. Nor am I attempting in any way to put any pressure of any kind on either you or the members of your committee. However, may I point out that your refusal to even consider it might be construed wrongly and might lead to speculation that certain members of your committee fear that their impartiality might be challenged.
May we enter?
Why, certainly, certainly.
Forgive the intrusion. My companions and I come here on a matter of grave import.
Come right in.
My name is Oates, Titus Oates, a doctor of philosophy.
This is a rare privilege. I've read about your career with great interest, Dr. Oates.
In a certain sense, we pursued the same line of endeavor, as did my companions. May I present Torquemada, Inquisitor General of the Spanish Inquisition?
I am honored, sir.
I'm very happy to make your acquaintance, General Torquemada.
And this is another distinguished member of our profession, so to speak, Mr. Cotton Mather, formerly of Salem, Massachusetts.
I bid you welcome, sir.
Cotton Mather. Well, this is a privilege.
And this gentleman is the distinguished jurist, Baron George Jeffreys.
How do you do, Judge?
Your servant, sir.
I see his lordship's name is not as familiar to you as is that of Torquemada and Mather. His lordship's name would have been instantly known to you had I presented him to you as the hanging judge, formerly of the bloody assizes.
Oh, the hanging judge. This is a pleasure. I should have remembered the name, Judge.
No need for apology. So few people do.
The devil take you, Oates. I've had enough of your jibes. The fame of the bloody assizes will live long after your confounded popish plot will have been forgotten. You miserable sneak, informer.
You dare call me that? Butcher!
My friends, I beg of you, we shall be giving our new friend a false impression.
Up here we live in peace and brotherly love.
Don't apologize. I understand. You should hear what some of my pals used to call me. Well, I'm really flattered by this visit, gentlemen. Of course, I'm not really in yet. I understand I've got to be investigated first. I'd like to ask your advice. I raised a point with the gatekeeper in connection with...
The committee has already met in executive session, and your proposal has been rejected.
You seem to know a great deal about it.
That is hardly surprising, sir. We are on the committee.
You are?
We have served on it for a considerable length of time.
Oh, well, I assume there won't be any obstacles to my entry.
None whatever, sir. Your permanent entry is assured.
You constitute a majority of the committee?
Yes. However, we merely serve in an advisory capacity.
The gatekeeper makes all final decisions.
We, of course, play no small part in influencing those decisions. And the gatekeeper has never, to my knowledge, used his veto.
And you're gentlemen, you see eye to eye on most matters?
On all matters.
Invariably.
I don't want to embarrass you, gentlemen, but it does seem peculiar to find Titus Oates, an enemy of popery, in complete agreement with Torquemada, the founder of the Inquisition.
Your point is well taken. But up here, one's perspective changes. We rise above our differences.
Say rather that we have submerged our differences in the face of a treacherous and powerful enemy.
And that enemy is?
Down there.
I see. A foreign power.
Precisely. It is our high purpose to awaken the apathetic multitudes to the imminent danger of an attack from within by this foreign power, which has never renounced its goal of complete domination.
We believe that purpose can best be accomplished by exposing the extent to which agents of this foreign power have infiltrated into our midst, spreading their noxious doctrine and enlisting the aid of unsuspecting dupes in a monstrous conspiracy.
But how have these subversive elements managed to enter? Who is responsible?
The gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper?
In my considered opinion, speaking as one trained in jurisprudence, the evidence is overwhelming.
Then why has he been permitted to remain in his present position of trust?
For some time now, we have been considering ways and means of exposing the gatekeeper and forcing his resignation. We have hesitated to do so until a man could be found to take his place. Your arrival at this time is most opportune.
Gentlemen, surely you don't mean...
There is no doubt you are the man.
I am honored by your faith in me, but I am, after all, a newcomer. Surely one of you would be better qualified. You have served on the committee. You are familiar with the local political situation. You have studied the available evidence.
That is true. However, one factor outweighs all other considerations. We feel that in you We have a man who can bring to the committee's work the latest inquisitorial techniques.
Compared to you, sir, we are mere untutored novices, and we bow to your superior knowledge and experience.
Gentlemen, I cannot find the words to express my feelings of humble gratitude at the signal honor you are conferring upon me.
Then you accept.
Just a minute, Judge. It seems to me this undertaking of ours is not without certain dangers.
We can expect to rouse some disapproval and even active opposition, but nothing so serious that we cannot cope with it.
I wasn't thinking of the lower levels of the administration, Judge. I was referring
You
to...
are concerned about the chief.
Frankly, yes.
You need have no fear on that score. The chief never interferes.
Rest assured, sir, we will have a free hand, provided, of course, that we do not overstep legal boundaries.
Then, in all humility, I dedicate myself to the task of bringing to light the facts of this monstrous conspiracy that threatens our way of life up here. I shall pursue this objective relentlessly, disregarding all attempts at intimidation by persons in high places who may be implicated by these facts. And I shall not cease until I have fixed the blame for 1,000 years of treason.
The committee will come to order. Let the record show that a full quorum of the committee is present. We have before us an application for permanent entry, 578293B021. Is the applicant ready?
I'm ready.
There are a number of rules
Mr. Chairman.
governing these hearings.
Mr. Chairman.
It's our purpose
Mr. Chairman.
on this committee.
Point of order.
Sir, I was about to inform you of the rules.
Sir, I believe my point of order takes precedence.
As I understand it, a point of order is usually raised in connection with procedure. Since I have not yet informed you of the rules of the hearings, I fail to see how a point of order is...
Mr. Chairman, my point of order is not raised in connection with rules of procedure. It goes much deeper than that. It is pertinent in that it goes to the competency of this committee to conduct an investigation.
Sir, you have raised...
Please do not interrupt.
But the committee has already considered your proposal.
Mr. Chairman, I must insist that I be allowed to finish my point of order without interruption from the chair.
Oh, very well.
Today, I'm prepared to bring specific charges concerning the fitness of a certain member of this committee to sit in judgment upon any applicant.
This is a very serious charge.
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest you ask me against whom these charges are being preferred?
Yes, I was about to do so. Against whom are you preferring these charges?
I bring these charges, which, if proven, and I have no doubt that they will be fully substantiated, in which event the member of the committee who has been found to be derelict in his duty should be removed from this committee. I think you will agree to that, Mr. Chairman.
Well, certainly. Any member who has been proven to be unfit to serve on this committee will not be allowed to continue to sit upon it. But will you please state against whom you are bringing these charges?
Against the chairman of this committee, the gatekeeper.
You charge me with unfitness? Why, that is preposterous.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
It's ridiculous.
Mr. Chairman.
It's completely out of order.
Mr. Chairman.
The applicant will be seated.
Mr. Chairman.
And the hearing in this case will proceed.
Mr. Chairman.
You are out of order.
Mr. Chairman.
You are out of order.
Mr. Chairman, I cannot accept that ruling. You stated just now, did you not, that any member of the committee who is proven to be unfit will be removed.
Yes, I did, however.
Your statement carried the clear implication that charges of such a nature, in order to be proven or disproven, must first be fully heard.
Yes, in the sense that.
And yet, when you learn that these charges are directed against yourself, you refuse arbitrarily to even hear these charges. Now I ask you, sir, was your first statement a true statement of the position of this committee with respect to the airing of charges of unfitness in connection with any member and his consequent removal from this committee in the event such charges were found to be true? And if it is true, then is your second statement to the effect that I am out of order in preferring these charges against you consistent, please, this won't take a moment, consistent with your first statement alluded to? Or did you mean in your earlier statement to exclude yourself from the category of members against whom charges can be preferred? And if that was the meaning of the statement, upon what precedent do you base such a flagrantly improper ruling?
Well, I don't follow your question.
Now come. You know that's a perfectly simple question. Is your statement true? The statement that proven charges of unfitness would result in removal of the member concerned.
The first statement?
Or were you lying?
How dare you accuse me of lying?
Then it was true.
It most certainly was.
Then how do you reconcile it with your present position?
I merely stated.
You must realize that it cannot be reconciled unless, of course, you were deliberately creating a false impression.
I deny that. I was stating the truth.
I am glad to hear you're so positive about it. If, as you say, you were telling the truth, then you do not, in fact, you cannot refuse to consider charges against any member of this committee, including yourself.
Well, that would seem to be.
I am not asking you what it seems to be. I am asking you to state the position of the chair. Are you refusing now to allow me to air these charges?
No, of course not. That would not be consistent. I concede that. But I am objecting on grounds of proper procedure. I am the chairman of this committee. You now propose to investigate me. Clearly, as long as I am in the chair, it would be most improper.
I completely agree.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Dr. Oates.
may I suggest that the matter will be expedited and the interests of propriety best served if you were to relinquish the chair temporarily while these charges are placed before the committee? Would this be satisfactory to the applicant?
I have no objection whatsoever.
Well, it's completely without precedent. However, if it will expedite matters, Dr. Oates, will you take the chair?
I would consider it a privilege.
It's most unusual. Most unusual. Oates, should we proceed with the charges?
Proceed. Do you have a witness ready?
I wish to call as my first witness Inspector Martin of the Immigration Service.
Is Inspector Martin here?
I am, sir.
Then you may call your witness. You may go ahead.
Inspector Martin, I have just a few questions. I'm sure you can answer them quite easily. Were you the officer who conducted me to the gatekeeper's office yesterday?
I was.
Were you present throughout the interview?
I was.
Isn't it a fact that the gatekeeper stated at that time that there was a gross inefficiency in the immigration service?
Well, what he meant.
I am not asking you what he meant. Confine yourself to facts. Is it a fact that he said there was gross inefficiency?
Well, yes, he did, but.
Those were his exact words. Gross inefficiency.
He did use those words, but.
In reference to the immigration service of which he is the head.
Yes, but if I may say so,
There is no need for statements. Confine yourself to answering my questions. Now then, did he also make a statement at that time to the effect that the way things were going in the immigration service, you can get away with anything nowadays?
I think he said something like that.
You think? Isn't it a fact that those were his exact words? You can get away with anything.
Well, he may have, but
Come now, you're hedging, Martin. Did he say it or didn't he? Yes or no?
yes, he used those words.
Did he also make a statement to the effect that he feels unable to cope with the disorganized state of the immigration service and that he felt he should hand in his resignation? Is that true?
Well, that's true to an extent.
To what extent? He complained about the disorganization in the service,
Yes,
and he made a statement about handing in his resignation?
yes, he did.
Then your answer to my previous question, which was, that's true to an extent, was not a completely truthful answer.
Well, if you want to put it that way,
I am putting it that way. Your answer to my question as to what extent the statement I attributed to the gatekeeper is true should have been that it is entirely true.
well, I suppose it should have been.
Then you were lying.
No, sir, I was not lying.
Not deliberately, Inspector. Let us say you were confused.
Yes, I suppose I was.
On reconsidering the question then, and take all the time you want before you answer, you would say that it is entirely and completely true that the gatekeeper made all the statements attributed to him. Please answer the question.
Yes, 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 it's entirely true.
Sir, you have heard the testimony of the previous witness.
Yes?
Was his testimony true?
Well, I want to be fair to Inspector Martin.
I think up till now we have all been so.
I would say that his testimony is true insofar as the actual words I used. However, the intent,
I think the committee can draw its own conclusions as to the intent.
that may be, sir. But the point is...
The point is that you actually used those words.
Well, yes, I must say I did. However...
Very well then. If, as you admit, your department is grossly inefficient,
But I do not admit...
is it possible that certain subversive individuals have managed to infiltrate up here by taking advantage of this laxness and gaining permanent entry?
That is absolutely impossible. I deny it.
You deny they have gained entry by taking advantage of your laxness? How then did these subversives gain entry?
Well, they got in. I deny that any subversive elements gained entry at all. I never said they did.
And if certain undesirable elements have infiltrated here, you admit the responsibility would be yours and yours alone.
Yes, it would. But I again deny that such a thing is possible. Every applicant must undergo the usual routine investigation.
Routine? Don't you think the applications of heretics, dissenters, rebels, many of them with prison records, should have been given more than routine consideration?
Sir,
Don't you think you should have exercised the most careful vigilance in cases of this kind?
Sir...
That you should have subjected such individuals to the most intensive scrutiny?
All our investigations follow the standard pattern. That is what I meant by routine.
In other words, you admit that cases of individuals most likely to be subversive up here were investigated with no more thoroughness than you would use in the case, say, of an applicant whose record was without a blemish.
I did not consider it necessary.
What was your motive in coddling known subversives?
There was no evidence that any of them were subversive.
Do you deny the possibility that a more complete investigation would have brought forth facts which would have possibly expose their affiliations with a foreign power? Do you deny that possibility?
How can I answer?
Do you deny that possibility?
I cannot answer such a question. No one can.
Then you do not deny such a possibility.
Obviously, I cannot deny it. I neither deny it nor admit it.
Can you deny it?
No matter how many times you ask me that question, my answer must be that...
Mr. Chairman, the witness is not being responsive. I ask the chair to order that the question be answered.
I must protest, Mr. Chairman. The nature of the question...
In the opinion of the chair, the opinion of the chair is that the question is a proper one. The witness is directed to answer the question.
Can you deny such a possibility?
I neither deny nor admit it.
But you do not deny it.
No, I do not deny it.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, in view of the admission of gross inefficiency by the gatekeeper, in view of the fact that he cannot deny there is a possibility that subversive persons likely to be agents of a foreign power by taking advantage of the gatekeeper's laxness, if indeed it is mere laxness and not a deliberate and treasonable coddling of such persons, have succeeded in infiltrating up here for the purpose of undermining our way of life. In view of these facts, this committee has no alternative but to reopen for complete and thorough investigation a number of cases as...
I protest. This is a deliberate attempt to discredit the Immigration Service. I insist that we proceed with the regular business of the committee immediately.
May I remind the gatekeeper that he has temporarily relinquished the chair?
Mr. Chairman, I appeal to you. How much longer are the members of this committee going to tolerate these disruptive tactics?
The chair agrees that this committee has no alternative but to reopen a number of cases in order to determine the truth of the allegations which have been made. It therefore rules.
I will not be a party to any such undertaking. I will resign first.
If the gatekeeper feels that this is the only honorable course open to him.
That is exactly how I feel. I am resigning. Do you hear? I resign. I resign.
The committee will come to order. Let the record show that a full quorum is present. This is the first open session of this committee under my chairmanship, and I wish to announce that hearings on new applications will be suspended temporarily in order to enable the committee to reopen for investigation a number of cases in which permanent entry has been granted and where we have reason to believe there is evidence of disloyalty, actual or potential. Mr. Oates, who is our first witness?
Socrates.
Please state your full name for the record.
I am called Socrates.
Mr. Socrates, what is your occupation?
Philosopher.
Mr. Socrates, this committee has heard certain testimony in closed session concerning your activities. An accusation has been made against you to this effect, that Socrates is an evildoer and a curious person who searches into things under the earth and in heaven, and he makes the worst appear the better cause. Do you care to deny that statement?
While I have the life and strength, I shall never cease from the practice and teaching of philosophy, exhorting anyone I meet after my manner, and convincing him, saying,
Witness is not being responsive to the question. Mr. Chairman, I request that he be ordered to answer yes or no.
Witness will answer the question. Is this accusation true? And if so, are you still engaged in these subversive activities?
I do nothing but go about persuading you, young and old alike, not to take thought for your persons and your properties, but first and chiefly to care about the greatest improvement of the soul. I tell you that virtue is not given by money, but that from virtue comes money and every other good of man, public as well as private. This is my teaching, and if this is the doctrine which corrupts the youth, my influence is ruinous indeed. But if anyone says that this is not my teaching, he is speaking an untruth.
Come on now, Socrates, don't hand me that. You know that's not an answer to my question. I must warn you that unless you're responsive to the question, a perfectly simple question that can be answered yes or no, the committee can draw only one inference.
Acquit me or not, but whatever you do, know that I shall never alter my ways, not even if I have to die many times.
Mr. Socrates, your failure to clear yourself of the charge of subversion, although given a fair opportunity to do so, can leave no doubt in the minds of the members of this committee that granting you permanent entry was a serious mistake.
Mr. Socrates, it is the ruling of this committee that pursuant to Section 28A, Article 4B, Paragraph 2 of the Internal Security Regulations, you be handed over to an officer of the Immigration Service for the purpose of deportation from up here to down there.
Is the next witness ready, Dr. Rhodes?
He is.
Please state your full name.
My name is Karl Marx.
Mr. Marx, I hand you a pamphlet written by one Karl Marx. Now, you wrote this pamphlet, didn't you, Marx?
Oh, no,
You deny that you wrote this pamphlet?
I did not write it.
Come on now, Marx. You know that won't get you anywhere here. We know you wrote this. There's no use denying it.
No, I didn't write. I'm not a writer.
You say you're not a writer, but you are Karl Marx.
Yes, but I am Karl Marx, the watchmaker.
Just a moment. Mr. Marx, there seems to be some confusion as to whether or not the committee has subpoenaed the right Karl Marx. The witness is excused for the time being. Do not leave the hearing room. Dr. Rhodes, do you have another witness?
We do.
All right. Please state your full name,
Thomas Jefferson,
your occupation.
President.
Did you engage in any other occupation, Mr. Jefferson?
I was a gentleman farmer.
I'm not referring to that. Is it not a fact that you were an active revolutionary?
Mr. Chairman.
That in fact, you were one of the leaders of a movement which had as its aim the overthrow of established government by force and violence?
Mr. Chairman, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which connect them with another.
Come on now, Tom. You know you're stalling. Just answer the question. You don't have to make a speech.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps if you made the question more specific, we all want to be fair with Mr. Jefferson.
Your point is well taken, Mr. Oates. Mr. Jefferson, I hand you a statement purported to have been made by you in a letter to Mr. William Stephen Smith. Will you read it aloud, please?
What country before ever existed a century and a half without a rebellion? The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure.
Did you Or did you not make that statement? And if you did, do you still subscribe to those views?
If there be any among us who wish to dissolve this union, let them stand undisturbed, as monuments of the safety with which error of opinion may be tolerated, where reason is left free to combat it.
You're trying to kid, Tom. I've asked you a simple question. Why don't you cooperate with this committee? Don't you think this committee has a right to expose subversives like this Socrates? Now, where do you stand, Tom?
It behooves every man who values liberty of conscience for himself to resist invasions of it in the case of others. Or the case may come, by change of circumstances, it becomes his own. It behooves him too, in his own case, to give no example of concession, betraying the common right of independent opinion by answering questions of faith, which laws have left between God and himself.
I think it's a waste of time to question this witness any further.
Mr. Jefferson, it is the ruling of this committee that pursuant to Section 28A, Article 4B, Paragraph 2 of the Internal Security Regulations, that you be handed over to an officer of the Immigration Service for the purpose of deportation from up here to down there.
Who's the next witness, Dr. Oates?
Karl Marx.
Is it the right Karl Marx this time?
We believe it is.
Your name is Karl Marx?
Yeah.
I hand you this pamphlet and ask if you are the author.
Oh, no,
You deny it?
I am not a writer.
But you are Karl Marx.
Yeah, but I am Karl Marx, the piano tuner.
There's obviously a misunderstanding here. Witness is excused temporarily.
Thank you.
Mr. Oates, let's try to have this cleared up before our next session. Do you have another witness?
Yes, we do.
Please state your full name.
John Milton,
Occupation.
poet.
Have you ever engaged in any other activity, Mr. Milton?
For a short time, I was Latin secretary to the Lord General Cromwell.
I don't think that's quite accurate, Mr. Milton. Would it not be more accurate to say that you are one of the chief propagandists for a man who led a bloody revolution and later became a ruthless dictator? Is that not a fact, Mr. Milton? That was your chief activity, not poetry. Poetry was a sideline, wasn't it? You wrote political pamphlets, didn't you?
I did but prompt the aged to quit their clogs by the known rules of ancient liberty, when straight a barbarous noise environs me of owls and cuckoos, asses, apes, and dogs.
Strike that from the record. You won't get anywhere, Milton, by insulting the members of this committee. Now we're giving you an opportunity to clear yourself. Why don't you play ball with us, John? Why are you trying to protect this two-bit general, a man who was a disgrace to his uniform? Now, if you wrote these pamphlets on Cromwell's order, we can understand that. We understand you had some personal difficulties with Mrs. Milton. You probably needed the money. We don't wish to pry into your personal affairs, John. This isn't one of these star chambers like they used to have in your time. Just tell us where you stand in your own words.
Give me liberty to know, to utter, and to argue freely, according to conscience above all liberties. Let truth and falsehood grapple. Whoever knew truth put to the worst in a free and open encounter. Truth is strong next to the Almighty. She needs no policies nor strategies to make her victorious. Those are the schemes falsehood uses against her power. Give truth but room, and do not bind her when she sleeps.
Well, there's no doubt where you stand, Jack.
He's saying the same thing this Jefferson fellow said. All these fellows say the same thing.
Naturally, they say the same things. They're part of the same conspiracy.
Mr. Milton, it is the ruling of the committee that pursuant to Section 28A, Article 4B, Paragraph 2 of the Internal Security Regulations, that you be handed over to the officer of the Immigration Service for the purpose of deportation from up here to down there.
Who is the next witness, Mr. Oates?
Karl Marx.
Well, let's hope we've got the right one this time. Your name is Karl Marx.
Yeah.
I hand you this pamphlet and ask you if that is your name on the title page.
Yeah. That is my name, Karl Marx.
Then you are the Karl Marx. You are the man who wrote this.
Oh, no.
You have just admitted that your name is on this pamphlet. Do you now deny that statement?
Oh, no. That is my name there, Karl Marx. But I am not a writer. I am Karl Marx, the pastry chef.
Pastry chef. Now, just a minute. This is going too far. One of you Karl Marxes is lying.
Oh,
No,
No,
Just a moment.
They may be the Marx brothers.
There's some doubt in the minds of the members of this committee as to whether we have the real Karl Marx here. The committee wishes to be fair. We don't want innocent people to suffer. However, security is the paramount issue.
It is therefore the ruling of this committee that all persons by the name of Karl Marx be deported from up here to down there, pursuant to Section 28A, Article 4B, Paragraph 2 of the Internal Security Regulations. John Stuart Mill.
If all mankind minus one were of one opinion and only one person were of the contrary opinion, mankind would be no more justified in silencing that one person than he, if he had the power, would be justified in silencing mankind. We can never be sure that the opinion we are endeavoring to stifle is false opinion. And if we were sure, stifling it would still be evil.
Mr. Mill, it is the ruling of this committee that pursuant to Section 28A, Article 4B, Paragraph 2 of the Internal Security Regulations, that you be handed over to an officer of the Immigration Service for the purpose of deportation from up here to down there. Martin Luther.
It is neither safe nor prudent to do aught against conscience. Here stand I cannot do otherwise.
Mr. Luther, it is the ruling of this committee that pursuant to Section 28A, Article 4B, Paragraph 2 of the Internal Security Regulations, that you be handed over to an officer of the Immigration Service for the purpose of deportation from up here to down there. Voltaire, Baruch Spinoza, Thomas Paine, Giuseppe Garibaldi, Victor Hugo, Abraham Lincoln. It is the ruling of this committee that pursuant to Section 28A, Article 4, Paragraph 2 of the Internal Security Regulations, that you be handed over to an officer of the Immigration Service for the purpose of deportation from up here to down there.
Good morning, Ludwig.
Good morning, Wagner.
And how are you doing this morning, Johann Sebastian?
Quite well, thank you. Have you heard what happened yesterday at the investigation?
Oh, please, Johann, no politics. Our little club is devoted solely to music. Shall we try the new quartet?
But Chopin is not here.
Yes, I know. I'm afraid he will not be coming here anymore.
Why not?
I've taken the liberty to ask him to resign.
How could you do such a thing, Richard? We have played with Frederick for ages.
Yes, yes. I hated doing it. He's a fine musician, a great talent. But we must be realistic. There have been certain rumors about Frederick. I don't believe them, of course, but in his youth, he had certain political tendencies, and even some of the titles of his compositions, like the Revolutionary Etude. Well, I thought it would be safer not to be associated, just until this blows over. Now, the quartet.
How can we play the quartet? There are only 3 of us.
I've invited someone to take Chopin's place, a fine pianist, a great musician.
Who, Liszt?
Oh, no, he was a friend of Chopin.
Schubert?
Oh, no, he was a friend of Liszt.
Then whom did you invite?
Otto Schmink.
Otto Schmink.
I have never heard of him.
That is exactly why I have chosen him. No one has ever heard of him.
Pardon me, sir, the door is locked.
This is my laboratory. It has never been locked before.
Sorry, sir, orders.
But I am engaged in important research.
My orders are that you are to be refused admittance.
Why?
You're a security risk. Sorry, Mr. Galileo.
But my research project.
This has been taken over by someone else.
Taken over? By whom?
Professor Schmink.
Oh, blithe newcomer, I have heard. I hear thee and rejoice, O cuckoo. Shall I call thee bird or but a wandering voice?
May I express our gratitude to you, Mr. Wordsworth, for gracing our Poets' Circle tonight. And now we are privileged to hear some new poems by the author, Percy Bysshe Shelley, one of our most distinguished and...
No.
Oh, your pardon, one moment. Yes, what is it, Wordsworth?
Haven't they told you about Shelley?
No, dear me, you don't say. I didn't know. No one told me. Yes, of course. I see the necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to announce Mr. Shelley will not be with us tonight. In fact, Mr. Shelley has been dropped from membership in the Poets' Circle. May I also say at this time, any opinions expressed by Mr. Shelley in the course of his association with the Poets' Circle did not reflect the views of the other members. Now then, to continue. In Mr. Shelley's place, we shall hear a newcomer to our circle, the distinguished and inspired poet, Mr. Otto Schmink.
Is that you, Oates?
Yes,
Well, come in.
I must talk to you.
I've been going over the list of tomorrow's witnesses. Small potatoes. Can't we jazz the hearing up with a few names? I don't want them to think we're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
That can wait.
What's the matter with you, Oates? You don't seem to be yourself. What's wrong?
There's someone you must see.
Who?
I'd rather not mention any names.
A mystery witness. All right, bring him in.
No, you must go to him.
Are you kidding?
I assure you, the matter is most urgent.
All right, I'll take your word for it. This guy better be important.
Believe me, he is. Come, I will take you to him. Just outside the main gate.
You're late, Oates. You know I don't like to be kept waiting, you stupid oaf.
Now, just a minute. Just a minute here. Mr. Oates is a member of my staff, and I will not have a member of my staff spoken to in that fashion. I don't care who you are.
You don't?
Oh, I see. Oates, we must watch what we say. How do we know this conversation isn't being recorded?
You have my word of honor as one gentleman to another.
What do you want?
You must stop these investigations.
Are you giving me orders? Apparently you have some hold over Oates, but you're not running my committee. If you think you can put pressure on me...
Stop this orgy of deportation. Stop sending those crackpot reformers down there.
I will make no deals. The investigations will continue.
But you don't know what's been going on. Jefferson and Milton are calling for a Congress. Martin Luther and John Stuart Mill are making speeches about the rights of the damned. Cromwell and Tom Paine have recruited a lost souls militia. That madman Socrates keeps asking me if I know what virtue is. Me! And that madman, Karl Marx.
Which Karl Marx?
How should I know? There are hundreds of them all over the place. Remember those pamphlets you handed them at their hearings? They took them with them when they got deported. They printed thousands of copies. You know what their slogan is? Workers of the underworld unite. You have nowhere to go but up. Now they've gone and organized a union. And they have the gall to want me to negotiate with them. Before I see them do that, I'll see them in. I can't cope with it. Stop the investigations. You're bungling it. There are ways of doing these things.
Are you criticizing my methods?
At first, they didn't take you seriously. Good. Then they began to be frightened. Good. They kept their opinions to themselves. Good. They stopped joining clubs. Good. They informed on their friends. Good. But you went on and on and on. Now they're beginning to ask themselves, am I next? Where will it all end?
Nowhere. After my next hearings, they won't dare open their mouths. When I started, I said I wouldn't rest until I had fixed the responsibility for thousands of years of treason. I have never been convinced that the gatekeeper was completely responsible. Certain personal investigations I've made have led me to the inescapable conclusion that he is protecting someone higher up. Oates, issue the subpoena immediately.
For whom?
Who do you think? The chief. I am the chairman of this committee. I will decide who's to be investigated.
But you should have consulted the members of the committee before proceeding to.
The subpoena has already been issued.
You must quash it.
There is no point in further discussion.
There is still time to quash.
This is madness.
You cannot investigate the chief.
You've gone too far.
There is no one so high as to be immune from investigation, where there is the slightest.
But the chief is the supreme power.
There is no greater power.
This committee is the greater power. I am a greater power.
But he is the chief.
No, I am the chief. I am the chief. I am the chief.
Good morning, gatekeeper.
Good morning, Martin. Lovely morning, isn't it?
Beautiful. Glad to see you back on the job.
Thank you, Martin. It's good to be back. Well, it's all over and done with. Now we've got to look ahead. We're going to have our work cut out for us. All these people to be relocated. Oh dear, when I think about the paperwork alone. Well, we might as well get down to it. Martin, I have an interesting assignment for you. I think you're going to enjoy it.
A relocation?
No, a deportation.
Ah, I see.
Here is the file. Let us hope this is the last deportation we'll ever have.
This way. Come along now.
I am the chief. The chief. Answer the questions. Point of order. I am the chief. Treason. That's a simple question. Answer yes or no. I am the chief.
Just follow me. Take it easy. That's right. This way now. Come along. Just a little farther.
I am the chief. Up here. Deported. Point of order. Down there. Article 2B, Section 48. I am the chief. Point of order.
Come along. Just a little way. We're almost there.
Ah, Inspector, I've been waiting for you and your charge. Ordinarily, I leave these matters to my staff, but in this case, I thought it would be wiser to handle it personally.
I am the chief. Point of order. Mr. Chairman.
Pursuant to Section 28A, Article 4B, Paragraph 2 of the Internal Security Regulations, I now hand over to you rejected applicant number 578-293-B021. That is all.
Not quite, Inspector. I now inform you that I refuse entry to the applicant.
You refuse? You can't refuse.
I can and I do refuse. I have certain rights too, you know. You must give me my due, as the saying goes.
I am the chief. The chief.
But you've never refused before.
That is true. In the past, I have invariably prepared a warm welcome for rejected applicants. A very warm welcome. But I will not have him set foot on my territory. That is final.
I am the chief. Point of order.
But I can't go back without him. What am I going to do?
Answer the question. Yes or no.
May I suggest you look up Article 35C, Paragraph 4A.
Article 35C, Paragraph 4A?
That's right.
In the event that rejected applicant is refused entry down there after deportation, the inspector in charge is required to return said applicant to his place of origin at the point where applicant first crossed the border.
Exactly.
Yes, that seems to be the law, all right.
I am the chief. The chief. Answer the question.
All right, come along. We've got a long trip ahead of us.
It's incredible, Doctor.
Those are the facts, Miss Garson.
He was the only survivor?
No doubt about it. Are you a close friend?
Yes, I am.
I think you ought to know that the crash seems to have affected his mind.
Well, After all, the shock.
It's a little more complicated than that, I'm afraid. He keeps babbling about being the chief and something about no one being too high and phrases like up here and down there, completely irrational.
But he isn't violent.
Oh no, quite docile.
The condition is temporary?
It's hard to say.
Well, at least his life was spared.
You don't understand. The plane crashed on top of a mountain, thousands of feet high, yet he was found wandering about at the foot of the mountain.
What of it?
The authorities say it's absolutely impossible for any human being to get down that mountain in the dark by himself.
It was an act of God, Doctor, an act of God.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are so many people to thank in creating this production that it would be impossible to name them all personally. Every member of our cast took their roles seriously, learned to manipulate Zoom, and worked very hard on their lines. Jerry and I were inspired by each and every one of you.
Cal and I would be remiss, though, if we did not acknowledge our great debt to three individuals who, behind the scenes, made this performance possible. Tirza Haviv, who recorded every session, acted as Zoom trainer, and kept all our scenes organized. Marcy Goldstein, who also coached each of us in Zoom and was instrumental in choosing and displaying our virtual backgrounds. And Francisco Vargas, who creatively edited the entire play in post-production. Thank you all.
Thank you.